All right, so for this devlog, I just prepared a small outline, just maybe because if I put more structure into these videos, then maybe it'll be more helpful for other developers or more interesting for just people that want to know what goes on behind the scenes of game design. So why don't we jump right in? So recently I've been working on bug fixes, of course, and balance. So mainly in Act 2, I feel like this blue line is the player's power level. So it's continually getting stronger, and this represents the average. Obviously, there could be runs where you find a rare action that fits perfectly into your build, and you insanely snowball after that. Or maybe there's runs where you're a little more stagnant. You find a couple things that may work, but doesn't work out in your favor, so you're a little bit below the curve. So that's the player on average, and it feels like the enemies, I don't know exactly, this is not mathed out exactly, but this is just how I feel. I feel like the enemies are just like a little bit like this, maybe. So they come out swinging right away, and you're not really prepared for them. And at the end, you kind of outscale them, and they just don't feel like they're keeping up. And ideally, I want this, oops, that's still a little bit too big. Maybe this gap is just a little bit too big, I don't know. It should be close. I want there to be a little bit of a wall here, just so it's a little bit of challenging, or a little bit of a challenge coming into Act 2, just because you kind of want to be prepared for the things that Act 2 may bring. I think that is, maybe people will hate me for it, but I think it's healthy for the game and adds to the challenge. And so how did I think about doing that is adding more content, of course. Always the solution is more content. But in all seriousness, I think a couple enemies that will only appear, let's use red, only appear like at the beginning, and then they'll drop off and you won't see them again, just so that you don't encounter those little weaker Act 2 enemies. And then a couple enemies, let's keep using red, I don't know why I switched, maybe that are a little bit stronger that you fight only at the end of the act. So adding more enemies just to kind of place in the different pools of easy and hard, I think will balance that out quite nicely. So Dom has been working on some sprites. This is one of them. This is the only one that's in the game so far. But yeah, I think she looks lovely and also terrifying. But yeah, why don't we go into the actual game? I'll boot it up quick and I'll show you just a couple of the things that I was working on. Mainly it's been a numbers system revamp, or like a damage number system revamp. And so what that means is like anytime you get hurt or hurt an enemy or gain block, or whenever there's like a number that pops up, it's going to go through this system. The previous system was just a little wonky, so we rolled a 1, so we did -1. And because we're taking away health, and if we're getting block, +3, wow, look at us. The other thing I added is a little bit of a quality of life thing. It's when enemies are statusing you and putting those nasty status actions into your discard, it will pop up on the discard bag itself. So +2, so you know that they added 2. And then the last thing is people were missing the level up, and I mean, I don't know. I want to make sure that they can get every advantage that they need for every fight. So I added a little ring effect that poofs out when you level up. So hopefully it's not as easy to miss. I also don't like this text. This text needs to go, but I was like, let's add motion. That attracts eyes. Anyway, that's what I've been working on. Little lighter day, a little more conceptual, but we're still making progress.